Hi, everybody. My name is Gary Gomes. I'm here to talk with you about Vedic astrology. I am a little bit unkempt. It's that time of the year when I need to get a haircut again. So, just warning you, I'll look kind of fuzzy over the next few broadcasts. But I want to really start. But by the way, just to give you a background, this is about this broadcast is a combination of like I'll give the yearly predictions next week. But this is about astrology, how it affects you as an individual, how it or how you interact with astrology more properly, and how it affects the world, how it will have how the planet's movements will affect the Earth in general. Um, I'm going to start this with a tiny diatribe, and I'll limit it to roughly 5 minutes. And I want to address what I'm seeing as the feelings of the need for control, the um, pointers towards what I call inevitability that I'm seeing around the world, and also the pessimism that I think drives the pessimism and fear, I think, that drives uh, the news cycle, not only in the United States, but around the world. And this isn't really necessarily a criticism of the news media. The news media knows you get more coverage from bad news than from good news. But I recently started looking a lot about at recent theories about cycles, and a lot of my friends engaged in cycles research, so I'm not necessarily opposed to cycles. Um, but I became, I'm worried about the increasing interest in accelerationism. That is, if things are collapsing, why don't we encourage these things to collapse so we can move to a better world faster? And number two, the seemingly inevitability of historical cycles. And that to me is almost tantamount to saying, well, I know someday I'm going to die, so I might as well speed it up. It's really, yeah. So essentially, change is inevitable, ending is not, if that makes sense. So so essentially, you can't have every society, every person goes through changes. It doesn't mean that if a particular dream or ambition of yours hasn't been fulfilled, you should just give up. Most people who you see who are like have been like large successes in the world or have comparable, have large degrees of achievement in the world have had numerous failures. They've had numerous setbacks. They've had to rethink their life patterns several times. But the key factor of them is they don't give up. And I think there's a tendency, not everybody has it, but there's an undercurrent that we're riding towards um, some kind of inevitable breakdown unless somehow the government comes in and controls things. I think that's dangerous. I think that's what I would call apocalyptic thinking, and apocalyptic thinking is not really what we think it is. So, the apocalypse in the Bible is what I would call a revelation, and it's in the books of Revelations, right? So it's a revelatory journey. It's a personal transformational journey. So essentially, what happens is you wipe out the illusions of the world and you achieve enlightenment. That's my take on it anyway. Some people take it literally, and in some cases there have been major societal changes. But most of the societal changes that we've achieved over the past 500 years or so have been driven by technology. We come out of a very technological cycle. Okay, and I don't think, and again, technology will continue to drive change, but I don't think that means you have to throw everything good from the previous cycle out in order to make way for new cycles. As a matter of fact, that's not how history works. Okay. So there is a certain amount of grit that an individual has to determine. There is a certain amount of sweat. There is a certain amount of karma to be burned in this lifetime. And when I say burning karma, it doesn't mean suffering. Burning karma can also mean putting effort forward to change your life. Okay. So I think this is important to look at as we're seeing the world in what's apparently a rather, not really as disheveled a state as we are led to believe by some people, but in a fairly uncertain state. Okay, where we have large opposing forces, uh, uh, or large apparently opposing forces confronting each other. It's interesting because, as I indicated last year, I'm seeing the far left and the far right sort of come together on issues connected with freedom of speech. Um, so I think that's, from my perspective, that's interesting. So I'm seeing more people who are um, in a certain subculture, especially on the internet, who are both conservative and left, who are left leaning, saying that um, they're worried about increasing government control. I'm also seeing a lot more technology-driven decisions, and again, as I told Gary O'Toole 2 years, well, 3, 4 years ago, increasing censorship on um, social media. And as I said in the previous broadcast, I'm not so sure that's such a horrible thing, but it depends on on what it's being done for. Is it being done in terms of uh, common decency or protection, like protecting uh, people from predators, or is it being done to control uh, and direct thought? And I think that's a debate that I really can't resolve here. And I don't know who history will determine to be the ultimate um, victor in this particular um, trial. But I think um, it is important for people to say to themselves, no matter what happens, I'm still going to pursue my goals. I'm still going to pursue what I believe in. Okay. And if it's a destructive thing, then see if you can get rid of those destructive thoughts. If it's a constructive thing which will benefit people, but definitely pursue it. But I think most people hold positions they hold for reasons that make sense to them. Okay. So I'm not taking sides in this particular argument. I've been my entire life, I've been wrong about many things. I've been right about many things. It's not a scorecard. It's not something. It's not something that you can look back and say, I was right about this, and I was right about that, and I was wrong about more than I was right about, or I was right about more than I was wrong about. What matters is the effort you put into achieving what you want to achieve. And that doesn't mean destroying things. That doesn't mean hurting people. That means achieving your goals, your positive goals. Okay. All right. And I just felt it particularly important to say that, especially at this time of year when it's a season of hope, it's a season of potentially new beginnings. 2024, there's only 1 day difference between 2024 and 2023. So you can start making those changes now. You can start saying, I really want to do that particular project, and I've been pushing it off because I've been uncertain about the future. There'll never be a perfect time. Never. Okay. So there'll be times which are easier to do things, but there'll never be a perfect time. Okay. All right. If people want to learn astrology from me, I am taking on students. My prices will raise slightly next year because I'm affected by inflation the same as you are. But they won't go up astronomically high. It's not like you're going to see a huge increase in my prices. But for those who want to sign on to study with me now, I'll keep my current prices. For those who want charts done or book charts now, I'll keep my current prices. Okay. But again, we're not going to see a massive increase on that. I've never been what I would call it a greedy astrologer, for from my perspective. Okay. So all right, so let's go to the chart and see what's going on right now. Though this is not uh, the current chart. We're going to correct it before you have a chance to see it. Let's get this done. But as I said a couple of weeks ago, I think there's a great potential for fear. Everybody's fear. Everybody's um, getting just a little bit uh, I would say paranoid or um, worrying about the election or the court cases. I'm more worried about basic um, things like whether or not people are going to be free to save, which is an important thing to me, believe it or not. Um, freedom of expression, freedom of speech are, I think, are really critical. And see if I can do this. So we're going to go to a now chart, and I will be doing a broadcast with my friend Jean Karazian on what's coming next year. We haven't established a date just yet, so just bear with us. All right. So this is the chart as we have it right now. So I think one of the reasons I was talking about that particular topic is because we have that Saturn Mars um, combination in the chart. Let me show you the chart because I just realized I wasn't showing you the chart. Okay, so that is in Mercury retrograde. That's just carelessness on my part. Okay, so we're going to show you the chart, show you the birth chart, show you the chart for right now. What's happening in the world right now, right this minute. On December 23rd, 2023. Hard to believe we're here. Okay. All right. So we have Saturn in the first house. So again, Saturn in the first house does indicate there is fear in the air. Okay. There is uncertainty in the air. I mean, seasonally, and keep something in mind, this is counteracted in large part by Venus aspecting both Jupiter and the moon. So there's also optimism. So there's cautious optimism right now. But that Saturn aspecting Mars, so we have two malefics aspecting the first house. That's going to give an overall perspective that things need to be controlled, need to be monitored, need to be, um, oh gosh, regulated. Okay. So that's what we're seeing right now. The financial markets are relatively optimistic. Um, I think you'll see some of that optimistic fade away by May of this year because of the Jupiter transit into Taurus. But I hope I'm wrong. I'm not really looking forward to a recession, and I hope that that particular forecast is wrong. But I can't see inflationary pressure abating for another couple of years. Um, this particular aspect is we have Rahu in the second house. So again, we're getting hit with a lot of misrepresentations and a lot of panic. Rahu is in charge of panic. Okay. So again, like I said, not so much the news cycles were relatively low. We are being hit with a bunch of court decisions. Okay. So we had the Colorado Supreme Court determined that Trump couldn't be on the ballot. But that triggered, there are other litigations going on, but that also triggered litigation, increased attempts of litigation around the country, in that some Republicans are trying to figure out ways to keep Biden off the ballot. And it's not as far-fetched as it sounds. So I think um, one of the interesting things is this will start kind of a conflict over the next couple of months. Now, again, if the Supreme Court doesn't hear this case by January 4th, Trump is going to stay on the ballot in Colorado.